Hey, this is Zach Holyoak with Saddlery with a quick tool tip on awls. The biggest thing like with tool maintenance is just make sure you're paying attention what you're doing with them. They're so expensive in the first place. You don't want to replace them, you know? Like, so just even like a little piece of shearling like this.
This video is a snippet from a course on learnwithaloom.com. Aloom is a learning platform for leathercraft. Find the patterns for this course, sign up for our free leather classes, or become a subscriber for access to an entire library of leather courses at learnwithaloom.com.
Maintaining awls is one of the big things that everybody struggles with. To me, I mean, I struggle with it daily and I've been doing it for 5 years. Some of the tips and tricks that I've found out with them, make sure they're sharp every time you go to use them, even if you have to put them on a stone for just a second, you know. They're really hard to kind of maintain. The biggest thing is awls get heated up. Once metal's heated up, the temper's becoming lost. So if you can do what you can to make sure they're sharp every time you go to stab, they won't heat up as much and you'll keep your awl, you know, in better shape and working for you. How I sharpen awls, I use a diamond stone. You gotta watch because most awls that you use are diamond shaped in themselves. You've got to make sure you stay on those planes and make sure that you're getting them and not rounding them. You're keeping them nice and flat. After you get them sharpened on that diamond stone or any stone, make sure you give them good buffing. You want them really, really nice and polished. You want to see yourself in them. If they still have scratch marks and stuff in them, they're going to drag and they're going to create more heat. So make sure they're really nice and shiny when you go to use them. You can tell that like this awl is a lot flatter on the edge this way compared to this way. So your planes are a little bit longer. So when you go to sharpen it, you got to make sure you're staying, when you go to sharpen, you got to tilt these so one edge is going to be up and one's going to be touching. And that's how you got to find your angle that way. And once you sharpen, I always sharpen, if I have a stone this way, I can sharpen this way and I can see when I flip it over, I can see the marks that stone's leaving. And I want it from edge to middle because there's another middle ridge right here. And you also want to kind of stay focused on the tips of your awls too. You don't want your awls tips blunt, you want them pointy. This is actually, if you look at an awl, this is mostly till about here. It's thinner here and it's at its thickest part, starting at its thickest part here. So when you're sharpening an awl, you want to stay focused in that first 1/3 of the awl for your sharpening because that's your cutting. So that's where you really want to focus in here. But the back half's just, it's there for stability and pushing that all through. But like I said, about that first third of that awl is your cutting surface through your leather. And that's what you want to focus on, is sharpening from there to there and making sure it's as shiny as you possibly can. You'll notice like over time, like using awls too, the more you sharpen them and the more you maintain them and keeping them sharp, those tips, when they come out, they're pointy. And after a while, they'll start to round out. So you'll end up having to take more, I'm going to call it the shoulder right here, where it comes out of the thinnest part and the thickest part. You're going to have to take that shoulder and start to narrow out your tips a little bit more. And one of the most important things with awl maintenance is never put them down on a hard surface. Make sure they're always going in something soft. I mean, go to Walmart, buy you a sponge to stab them into, something like that, and it'll keep this tip more protected. And so if you do end up dropping it, it's not bent, it's not dull or anything. So make sure you have something you can stick these into. I personally use a piece of cork, works really good. So just make sure you're setting your awls down on something soft or in something soft at all times when not in use. Same goes for like tooling tools. The old boy that I got told from, make sure you always put your tooling tools on a piece of wool. Anytime you're not using these, either put them back in your block. I mean, I find myself, if I'm tooling, I grab a few of these at the same time, I start using them, and I just start putting them aside. If you're not going to put them back in your block, make sure you're putting them on a piece of wool. Tooling tools are hard metal, but once they hit something hard like a rock or something like that, you start rolling your edges. These things like to roll off the bench, you know, fall on the ground. Once they hit the ground, they're dinged up. So if you're using them and you need them, here in about 2 seconds. Always put them on something soft that you can have on your bench. Always keep them on something soft so you don't damage the head of them, and that's probably the biggest maintained tip for a tooling tool, is to make sure it's always laying on something soft. Hopefully this little tip helps you maintain your awls. For more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel.